All right, friends. Again, welcome to the new format. So fun. I get to introduce you to people who mean so much to me. And I'm sure we're going to get into this. I have got the funniest recollection, actually multiple, of today's guest. Friends, I want you to invite or welcome to the show, Doug Joseph. Doug, so glad you're here with me today, my man.
It is so good to be here and great to connect, Chris. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we were just figuring that out right before we hit record. Like, it's been a couple years and time feels weird to measure now. It's such a before and after experience when the world broke. You emulate, I feel like, the way you lead, your style, and we'll get into that today, fits so well with the impact you have on your clients. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Serif Creative, what it's about, and then we're going to get into your story.
Sure thing. I'm the founder and CEO of Serif Creative. I founded the company out of my apartment on my kitchen table. And prior to founding Serif, my background was in indie filmmaking. Shot music videos, shot documentaries, traveled all over the world, Iceland, Nepal, Indonesia. And from those experiences, I really learned the art of storytelling. I really learned a lot about narrative and decided to take those learnings, and I wanted a new challenge and decided to serve businesses and help tell their story. And I've always had a passion for storytelling. And Chris, it was actually you who pointed out where the root of that came from.
Whoa.
And one day we were in a whiteboarding session and you were helping me prep for a talk. And it was just, my origin story and whatnot. And I mentioned to you that I was raised in a biker bar and I'd take naps on the pool table. And you're like, dude, you need to include that. And I was like, yeah, I never really thought about it. I guess that is unique. So, growing up, my grandma had a biker bar and I would be dropped off there, throughout the day, we'd babysat, and I'd hang out with, laborers and factory workers and bikers, and would hang out with them. And that's where I learned the art of storytelling and community. And I think that's really where it all comes from.
Yeah, man. You've already taken us there. I freaking love it. And, when I think about our time here today, I really want to make sure people connect with some of the authenticity and impact of how you lead, because it gives people permission to be who they are as leaders. We're all the time, I think, comparing and look at how they are as a leader and look at how they are, and I should be more like that. And I feel like there have been so many times with you where I've seen you click in on something. Mm-hmm. And this thing just like shifts in your eyes, and then like the past is the past now. This is where we're going. This is what's happening. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, I've never considered myself typically, the smartest person in the room, but I know I can outwork people and I can implement. So if somebody makes a recommendation, I'll change course and I can implement that. And an example of that recently, just on that note, I was chatting with a friend. And just being real with them, I said, sometimes I struggle with being a business owner versus being a film director. Like, I love doing both. And I feel like I need to put myself in this box of, go all in on being a filmmaker, a film director, or going all in on being, an entrepreneur, a business owner, working on the business. And I asked them, like, what do you think I should do? And they're like, Doug, the answer's both. All right, look at George Lucas. Like, he directed Star Wars, and in the midst of directing Star Wars, he was standing up other businesses. Like, and they were like, go that route. And I was like, yeah. So it kind of gave me this, piece that I can do both. And it wasn't until recently that clicked.
Oh man, I love that. I mean, I think that's part of how you and I can like pick up and dive right back in so quick, because that is exactly like where I'm at. For a number of years, it's about the practice and getting in the reps and really being able to be that transformational coach. But now what's changed over the last couple of years is, we have a leadership team and it's really leading the business. And that pulls me back to things I did in other eras or chapters of my life. But I'm so passionate about the work, like I know you are, telling the story, but I'm also passionate about leading the team. And I think it makes us, everybody's got to walk out their own story, but I think it makes us really powerful as clients because we're not doing the work from an ivory tower, right?
Sure.
We're living it out.
Yeah, we're on the front line. We're in the trenches. It's hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. What's a story recently, and I know you may have some client confidentiality, so whatever level you can share, that you've been really excited to help a brand or team tell that is just a source of joy for you?
Give me a second.
Take your time, man.
I have two.
Cool.
So one recently, we're working with the brand Rapsodo. They're headquartered in Singapore, have a North American office in St. Louis. They have this technology that measures ball movement for three sports: softball, golf, and baseball. And the data that it gives the athletes is amazing. So here lately, we've been able to really transform their business, tell the story, make these Nike-esque style spots. And we've really been able to just up the ante on their content. So that's been really exciting. And Serif, now has really been broken up into two divisions. There's the commercial side. That's been here since day one, serving clients, helping them win, getting them results. And that will always be a part of Serif. I love helping clients and solving their problems. That's just naturally in my DNA. But there's been this other division of Serif that's been stood up earlier this year, and that's original content. So an example of that, the production company A24, they started out in original content, making all kinds of great films from, drawing a blank here, give me a second, Good Time with Robert Pattinson, their list just goes on and on. And they have a commercial side of their business called The Lab. So basically Serif is that now in reverse. We started out in commercial, and now we're getting into original content. And that all started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So my wife challenged me. We're on vacation. And she said, Doug, you need to start another business. You need to start another project. You need to do something. And I went for a walk, and I was just thinking and praying, like, what do I do next? And my Twitter, I treat it like a journal. I just tweet it to myself. It's not really public facing. Yeah. And I tweeted something to myself that I completely forgot about. And the tweet was, last night I had a dream that I produced and directed a documentary about dirt track racing, and the name of it was Dirt Diamonds. That was the dream. So at that time, we had just sold our building in downtown Columbus in the Brewery District. And, during COVID, we just weren't reporting in, so it wasn't an asset. We sold it, and it was a profitable transaction. So I decided to take a third of that and invest it into Dirt Diamonds. And over the last 2 years, we've been bringing this documentary to life. We've logged about roughly 60 days of filming, and it's the story of outlaws, underdogs, troublemakers chasing one prize, a win at Eldora. And it has been amazing, Chris. It's been such a journey. And I have stories for days. We've captured fights and wrecks and all kinds of drama. We filmed with Mario Andretti at his house. We've been all over the country. It has been just a wild ride. And that's what gave me the idea of doing original content for Serif, both independently, but then doing branded entertainment. And now we're scoped with brands doing documentaries with them. And that's just been a really exciting development. And I think through all of this, I pushed myself to the edge, running Serif day to day, directing Dirt Diamonds. My son was born when we were in the thick of production for Dirt Diamonds, didn't sleep for 4 days and just went hard. But that pushed me, to my edge. And I realize now, like, there's a season to, go hard, make hay while the sun shines, but then you have to rest. So now I'm in a season where I know rest is important, and if I'm not resting, I'm not reflecting. And reflection is where the insights come from. So in summary, that's what I'm excited about. Original content, telling stories, serving clients. It's been great.
Dude, thank you, because I think this is such a powerful emulation of what I was saying earlier. And the last time that we went a little more in depth connecting, you were telling me about that, but it hadn't begun. And so now to connect here and to hear you've started, it's what we were just saying. Like, you commit to it.
So I had the dream, decided to pursue it. After I got back from vacation, I was getting coffee with my buddy Trayton at One Line. And I said, hey, man, I had this dream about dirt track racing. Name was Dirt Diamonds. Thing I want to bring it to life. He's like, my old roommate's dad in Lima, Ohio owns a dirt track. Like, do you think you'd give me his number? He's like, yeah. So he got it for me that day. I called the guy. His name was Greg. And he's like, I told him about the project. He's like, come on down, buddy. We got races this weekend. And we went, saw the whole movie play out in my head, and decided to do it. And I knew the type of characters I wanted. I wanted an underdog. I wanted an aging vet. And I wanted a wild card. And we found out that there was a woman racing that night, and we didn't consider, like, wow, there's actually like women who race in this sport with modern day cowboys. Like, so think of it as like F1 and a rodeo having a baby. That's what dirt track racing is. So we found out that there was a woman racing that night, and I chatted with her, and she's like, look, I'm not trying to take myself out of an opportunity, but the girl you need to talk to is Harley White. And I called Harley, and she was down to be in it. And she has a really remarkable story. And, you know, we just got into the filming, and we were filming for roughly 15 days, but we still hadn't found our underdog. And we found this great father-son team, a 16-year-old prodigy. But I didn't let that hold us up. I was like, no, we're just going to keep going. We're going to execute rather than just wait and, you know, try to time it. So I've always erred more on the side of, try to err on the side of execution versus planning.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I have to say this, for those that watch the YouTube of this, they're going to see it. The authenticity with which you are passionately telling your story, the people listening won't. So I'll connect the dots, and I'm just going to mention this just to help us. Doug's so into it. You're pounding the desk, which I love.
I didn't realize that.
Pick up on the audio, so it's fine. So just going forward, but that shows like you're in it. I mean, you're taking a nap on the pool table in the biker bar. You're going to the rodeo plus F1 mixed. What a cool equation that is to understand dirt biking. So for you, do you look back and you've been like always this way? I'm just going to take this action. I'm just going to do this. Or was there a time where that really got strengthened in you or a switch flipped?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, growing up, I was always an artist, always expressing myself. So that's always been in my DNA. Mm-hmm. And I was always a fighter, always had a lot of like gusto, chutzpah. But there was also a period in my life where I was more, I don't know, just kind of, maybe passive, just kind of pie in the sky. But then later in life, like in my early 20s, it just something clicked. I don't know.
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up the fruit bowl story.
Dude, yeah. Okay. What's funny is I have a few notes in front of me. That's one of them. You emulate the dirt bike story so well. It's the fruit bowl story. So yeah, the background on that is I'm with Doug in his office one day, and he just looks and he's like, we need to have a fruit bowl with fruit in it. And it was the funniest thing to me to come back in and then like so quick right after that, there's a fruit bowl with fruit in it. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, you are this man of action. So something clicked at your 20s. I think this is really interesting too. A part of your story, you had this like fight club going on as a young man. So we've got a scrappy person who's going to find a way, who's going to take action, who's going to, I picture like this gunslinger. And congrats, by the way, on the growing family. That's amazing. Yeah. How has being a parent changed you? Has it made you take more risk, less risk, just different risk?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I mean, actually, I learned this from you, Chris, when I would work closely with you prior to having kids. Like when you were on, you were on. And so now being a parent, when I work, I work. I don't let things kind of fester and I'll get to it later. It's like, no, I just am I try to be accurate.
Yeah.
So that has changed. And, naturally my days now are not linear. Like things pop up, kids get sick. Oh, you need to take them to the doctor, or, things just happen that are outside of my control.
Yeah.
So, just being able to maneuver and adjust and trying to be predictable, with my end time at work, when I'm done working for the day. But also a lot of motivation comes from it. So, naturally I'm driven to want to take care of them and, want to provide and be a good father and a good example. So, yeah, it definitely has its challenges. I do wonder, what was I doing with all my free time prior to having kids? Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love being a dad, and it's been so rewarding.
Beautiful. I love it, man. Way to go. I love the way you describe that. My days aren't as linear. You've made space for what has to naturally change. And what's funny is, no shame to people listening that don't have kids, but people that are like, how can I be more productive? My answer is going to be this: have kids. You can't not become more productive, because you're like, like you said, what did I do with all that time? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And, like before I had kids, I was actually meeting with a client, and she said to me, once you have kids, you'll say, how was I able to do this with not having kids? Now I can do it because I have kids, and you can't live without them. It becomes the source of your motivation and inspiration. So in some ways it gets easier, in some ways it gets harder.
Yeah. Such a both and thing. I love that.
Yeah, both and, yeah.
So right now, you look at the world, you look at the craziness and the intensity and the pain and the challenges, and it just feels like the pace of everything's faster and everything's on. What would you say right now to business leaders out there, maybe owners too, both and, however you want to take this, that you think is something that they really need to be encouraged around right now?
That's a deep question, thinking about it. I think it all goes back to trust. And if you can build trust within your organization, that's it. That's been my word this year and last year. Because the higher level of performance that's required of the team, the higher the level of trust that's required.
Yeah.
So I've been really asking myself, how do I build trust with my team, up and down, left or right, across the board. How can I build trust with them and foster trust among others? And I think it's really come down to communication and then repetition of that communication, a consistent form of it.
Yeah.
And then there being a high level of character and competency. When all those things come together, that's when trust hits, and that's what allows a team to function and perform at the highest level. So I think that's what I would say to leaders is, delegate, empower them, build trust. And if the trust is there, you can move heaven and earth. And that's really been my thing lately is trust.
I love it. Where right now are you as a leader trying to improve your competency?
That is a great question. I think I will always be a lifelong learner of story structure. The 7 story archetypes, the hero's journey, how to dial in a 3-act structure. On a technical level, that's where I'm always trying to improve.
Yeah.
But as a leader overall, I would say communication, just trying to be clearer, have clarity, create predictability, make sure the team knows where we're going. It's a lot like parenting, with kids, hey, here's what we're going to do for the day. We're going to have breakfast, we're going to brush teeth, and so my kids will know what's happening in there.
That's so true.
And I've kind of noticed that as a parent. I'm when my kids know what is coming up next, they cooperate. So that's kind of translated over on the business side is like, how can I be more predictable? That's been helpful.
Dude, I love that. Something that I find myself saying a lot to younger leaders, and you'll get this, it's just like, when in doubt what to do, 99% of the leadership answer you need in the given moment you're in is, what would a healthy parent do? You know what I mean? It's like, even if you didn't get it,
tell me that.
if you can imagine it.
Yeah. What would a healthy parent do? Yeah, you would always say that to me. Yeah, that's good, Chris. Yeah. I mean, in our sessions, there were always so many nuggets of wisdom. And, one that always stood out to me, you taught me a tactic on creativity. Imagine sitting at a table with different versions of yourself, like an older version, a younger version, and asking them, how to solve X, Y, and Z problems. And I will implement that from time to time in my creative process. But through our work together, I learned so many cool techniques like that.
Oh, dude, that's so encouraging, man. I wasn't even planning to go there yet, but I love it. So while we're there, for those that are listening that have also done this work of SightShift, or maybe they haven't, what for you sticks around the most? Because, and again, this was like 6 years ago, right?
Wow, it's been that long. It feels like one or two. That's amazing.
I know, dude. I know.
Yeah, what sticks out? Two things. Number one, having a secure identity. So there are moments where, things will get tough, they'll get tight, and I can always go back to my identity and compartmentalize. Whereas I can shift gears now, whereas if if I'm working hard and then I'm at home and shifting gears, at a turn of a dime, I'll need to do that. And I learned how to do that through our work together going through SightShift. So just realizing, where my identity comes from, and then through the fear that I had, identifying what that primary fear was, led to me having my greatest strength. And when that script flipped, it was seeing things differently. It was like something just shifted. That always stood out. And then neutral thinking. So envisioning scenarios let's say I'm going into a pitch, whatever it is, and being okay with winning and being okay with losing, and playing out those scenarios and being okay with either, and taking the edge off, and just communicating from a place of identity. That's always what stands out to me and what comes to my mind right now, processing that.
Dude, incredible memory. It shows how much A, you did the work, and B, have stayed on the path. So that is freaking awesome. I think, this is something I didn't know if I would share, but it's so fun. I can't resist the urge. So you still have the award for the best referral ever.
Is that right?
Yes. So, I may have shared this with you, but I don't remember. But so you had referred somebody in, and here's what he told me. He said, Doug told me on the movie The Town, when Ben Affleck drives up and is like, hey, hop in the car. We got to go mess this person up. And the guy just hops in the car. He goes, if Chris ever did that, I would just jump in the car and do it. That's how much I trust him.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That's the scene with Jeremy Renner. And
yes.
That's a great scene in The Town, but yeah.
I'm probably messing up. Yeah.
That's it. No, you didn't mess it up.
But
that's it. Yeah. So Chris is in inner circle. He needs something. I always call it 3 a.m. club. If Chris calls me at 3 a.m. and he needs something, I'll be there. And not everybody's in my 3 a.m. club. That's a small list. So that's so funny. That
amazing
referral said that.
I know, dude. And I remember, and this, I hope people listening to this get a vision for relationships and community and depth when there's not proving or hiding, because one of the deepest struggles I ever went through, not in any of the books or the podcasts, you were a part of that moment. And I remember sharing it with you and just you identified with me so much in that moment, and even viscerally, you had a response in your body. I watched your hand make a fist, and dude, it was a beautiful, beautiful time, beautiful moment. I was watching what you were doing, which was taking Serif from really a multi-person business to this agency of impact. And dude, you have been on the path doing the work. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, back in those days, we were just kind of a rough and rowdy group, just kind of, trying to figure it out. And, there have been different chapters and, still trying to find the best way. But over the last several months, I really feel like we've, hit our swim lane now because we're just doing our bread and butter, and that's content. We're not doing strategy, digital design. We're just focused now on creative assets, telling stories, both on the commercial side and original content. And it's been amazing.
That's awesome. So do you get back together in an office now? That's the space you're in? Or does it still work from home?
Yeah, we do a mix. We do hybrid. So Mondays, Tuesdays, we report in. And even that, most of the time, is optional. But if we're doing like ideation, planning session, where there's like an energy, like whiteboarding, like we'll get together in person. But, our team, everyone's adults. Like if you're doing your work, like I'm less concerned about like where you're doing it, so long as the results are there. Typically we work Monday through Thursday. If work needs to be done on Friday, get it done. But if it's done, get your work done Monday through Thursday. And that's been our workflow lately. It's been working out great.
Wow. What way to have a culture that you're really actively focused on trying to build it how you want to build it. As you think about like the culture where it is now, what you're wanting to do with the future culture of Serif, what do you want to make sure that you preserve more than anything else that you think would be something other leaders could learn from?
Yeah, that's a great question. What do I want to preserve? Give me a second. I'm processing that.
You take your time.
You can edit out my pause.
Yeah, we can if we need to. I'll tell you this: I love the realness of it, and everybody gets that you are considering your answers. I've got a take on it that as I was prepping for today, I had a thought for you.
What is it? I'd like to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I wanted to hear what yours would be first, but I'll offer it, and we'll see. Find a way. I mean, I think of like, when I think of Doug Joseph, I think of like, find a way. We're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Once we've locked in on something that is true to who we are, we're going to find a way.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. I can speak to that now. So I can just share a story of a team member who joined.
Cool.
We had a video editor who joined our team. And at the time, he was entry-level, junior, and he was just going to be working on internal projects, right? He wasn't even going to be doing client work. He was going to be helping with our, just various marketing materials and whatnot. So at that time, I decided that he was going to report to me because I was leading a lot of our marketing initiatives. And sidebar, I do not like having direct reports. Most people think direct reports are a good thing and you can do more. I'm a rolling stone. I don't like to collect moss. I just like to go. But when you have direct reports, like they don't work for you. You work for them. It's more responsibility. And I recognize that about myself. But at this juncture, he was reporting to me. And day one, I just whiteboarded with him, like, here are my expectations. I have one speed and it's fast. If you need something from me, troubleshoot and then ask, and I will help you. But most likely, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. But I will be here for you, and I will help you. And then I, laid out other expectations too. Very simple. I was like, take a photo of this whiteboard. This is it. So over time, he started, getting his reps in, and he was cutting and, making progress on our just internal projects. I'm like, man, this is pretty good. Let's insert some of our commercial work. And he would say, Doug, I'm not sure if I can do this, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I was like, you can do it. Just trust yourself. If you have questions, let me know. And he would always go above the bar And I would see, and then we'd start giving him more work and more work. And then over time, he was doing the majority of our commercial work, and now he's our head of post-production. It's amazing. So I think seeing people, just become the best version of themselves, reach their version of their personal greatness, creative greatness, personal greatness, their ambition, like the best version that they can be. That's what I'd want to preserve, and, finding the best way possible.
Man, I love that. I mean, that's what a powerful, healthy culture is. We are collectively made better by every individual becoming better. And so we are not doing what unhealthy cultures do, which is put the collective before the individual. Go you, man. Well, this has been so encouraging, I think, for leaders of all types to find permission to be who they are. When you think about like who your ideal client is and who you're helping that is your favorite, the ones you love to help the most, who are they? And if they're listening today, where would you tell them to go to connect with you?
Yeah, great question. If they want to find us, connect, our website's serifcreative.com. And personally, I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. Instagram, DC Joseph, and my LinkedIn is DC Joseph, the number 1. And as far as, what the profile looks for the companies we serve, it really falls into 3 buckets: connection, credibility, continuity. If they need help with those 3, that's where we can serve. And I believe that's what it takes to achieve creative greatness. When those 3 things come together, the 3 C's of connection, credibility, continuity, that's when a brand really shines. So in order to build a connection, you got to tell the story to your audience, deepen that emotional connection. If you want to have credibility, you got to demonstrate your thought leadership, your expertise. And the last one, continuity, you have to have consistency. Consistency confirms authenticity. You have to have an ongoing dialogue with your audience. So if you look at Apple, for example, they follow all 3 of those. And that's why they've achieved creative greatness. They tell their story. You look at the 1984 ad, all their iPod spots from years ago, their billboard that's on 315 in Columbus, they're constantly building the connection. Their credibility, you look at WWDC, all their keynotes, they're perpetually demonstrating their thought leadership and expertise, and their continuity is there. They are consistently telling their story, building the connection, and I think that's why they've achieved creative greatness. So if a brand needs help in one of those 3 buckets, that's where we can best support.
Oh, I love it. I love the clarity of that. Well, folks, for you listening, it's Serif, SERIF, creative.com. You can connect there. And then Doug gave you his details. Doug, thank you for coming on, sharing your heart, taking us from the biker bar to the boardroom. Oh, I just alliterated it for you.
It's good, man. Yeah, it's been an honor to be here, and think so highly of you, Chris. Always will be an inner circle, and over the years of knowing you, you've imparted so much wisdom. And anybody who's considering going through SightShift, on the fence, do it. And if you do it, what you put in is what you get out. So I encourage whoever is going through the process, like, go all in, and there will be fruit. And there's been a ton of fruit in my life because of SightShift. So highly recommend it. And keep up the great work, Chris. And it's been great being here today.
Thank you, my friend, so much. Peace, brother.
Later, man.